Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Ladan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast. Today's guests, plural, are Javier Shandy and Nicolas Barabino, and they are working together, kind of, but also doing different projects, separate projects. And Javier is at Focus, right? That's
Yes.
the name. And that's in Uruguay, down in South America. You're the first Uruguayan guest. And I think we have had a Brazilian guest, a show, but I guess you're the second South American guest. So gentlemen, do you want to introduce yourself? Javier, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Ladan, for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. My name is Javier Shandy. I'm the CEO of Focus, that is an engineering services company that works on firmware, hardware, and software development, and also provides test automation and system engineering services for mainly two markets: medical devices and consumer electronics. These are very different markets, and each one has its own challenges. But yeah, today we're focusing on the medical devices. My background, I'm an electrical engineer, and I have a PhD on wireless communications. And I've been working at Focus, which I co-founded since 2015.
Yeah, very cool. Nicolas, do you want to talk about your background?
Sure. First of all, thanks, Ladan, for the invite. So I'm an electronics engineer too, and I also have a PhD in microelectronics, and I've been working in medical devices, most specifically in implants, since the beginning of my career in the industry. And I'm a consultant. I work with Focus in business development. And my role is, I would say, mainly business development, but also other aspects of creating and developing the medical device business at Focus. And neuro, of course, it's a very exciting market. It's for us one of the key sectors, but we also work in other sectors. So within implantable devices, also wearable devices. So we try to be quite, let's say, a very broad scope within the medical technology.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So basically, so you guys are contract engineers. So if a company comes to you and says, we have an idea or we have money, hopefully both, they can come to you and request something. So what does that process look like? How long does it take? Kind of what does a typical onboarding of a project look like?
Sure. Yeah, well, it really depends. It depends on the customer, where they are, the development, of course, finance aspects also too. But yeah, it usually takes, I would say, some cases it's very quick, just a few weeks. In others, it can take months, several months. And what we really try to do is to, first of all, before sending out a quote, before starting to work, to really understand the vision of the client and how we can support them, right? To make sure that we are providing, the most value we can to our customers.
Okay. So that sounds pretty fast. Actually, you said within a few months, you'd be able to deliver a product, or what does that mean, I guess?
Yeah, no, I was just talking about the onboarding, right? About starting to work with the client, but also projects can be very short. So we had, for instance, clients that already have a prototype, that they have already demonstrated the concept of what they want to do. So it can take, if that's the case, it can take just a few months to put together a product, something that they can use for first preclinical, then clinical trials. So it depends on the complexity, also how much is there from off-the-shelf components we can use. So on the other side of the spectrum, we have clients that, even though they have a good idea of what they need to prove the concept, what they want to do. They need to build something from scratch. There's nothing they can actually leverage, and it can take years, right? So I would say could take anything from 6 months to a couple of years, maybe, depending on the complexity, the funding, of course, of the client.
Yeah, so thinking about the projects that we're currently executing, so we have one 2-year project and one 3-year project going on. So those are more long term, and we've been working with this company since the beginning of the development. So we did design and requirements and all the documentation package, and then did the development of hardware, firmware. So those projects can take longer times. And then we're working in other projects that are like 6 months or 4 months, where the client already has a working prototype, for example, and want to take it to clinical trial. So we put all our engineers to work on hardware, firmware, and software to deliver in a tighter schedule. So it really depends on the finances and on the stage of the product, if it's more in the starting phase or it's more in going into clinical trials or getting into a commercial state. So yeah, we have all the spectrum, and we feel comfortable in working in any kind of those projects.
Yeah, very cool. Seems very versatile. Do you guys have some kind of specialty? Do you guys have something that you are especially good at, or some kind of neurotechnology that you are really excited to work on?
I would say one of we're very good at firmware and hardware development, but if I had to mention something, I'd say wireless communications. All the Bluetooth is getting very popular in IPGs nowadays, and we built a lot of knowledge. So firmware development oriented to wireless communication is one of our strong points. I'd also say test automation. We have built a platform over the years for automating tests, integrating different kind of measurement devices from different companies and doing like hardware in the loop and continuous integration. So we develop and we test as we're developing with every release. And I think that's a strong point. We also feel very confident with hardware design, both analog and system integration. So yeah, I don't know, Nico, if you want to add something.
Yeah, so definitely those are aspects that we we are very good at, and we can add a lot of value to medical devices that leverage those technologies. I would say that, yeah, we are not really specialized into a particular kind of medical device, right? So we've done a lot of neuro, but we also done other things. So maybe, yeah, that's our advantage, that we are quite flexible, and that we, with the toolkit that we have, we can adapt to we can work in devices where others, maybe because of being accustomed or very well prepared to a specific kind of device like neuro, struggle to work with, whereas we are, yeah, I would say more open-minded, and we are able to work on newer technologies that where, for instance, platforms don't exist, because there are a lot of platforms for neuro which are great. I mean, specifications are great. So definitely people that are working on devices that fit within those specifications can really benefit a lot from that. But there are other devices that don't fit, and that's where we come. And I think that, yeah, we can really, in some cases, make a difference because of our experience, of our willingness to work on those challenges. And we feel really comfortable in with that. Yeah, with really projects that are radically new, are bringing new technologies.
I think that's a good point of view. We like to see ourselves as a group of talented engineers motivated for engaging complex challenges. So we have a lot of experience developing medical devices, and we try to leverage that experience into new products, but not necessarily to repeat the same kind of things or to do a very specialized kind of things. We like to tackle new challenges, be more in the innovation part, sometimes in the project. So yeah, that's something that we can offer that could be appealing for our clients.
Yeah, cool. That's really good. Very versatile, and I guess you guys get excited by new things. You don't have to be bored doing the same thing over and over. So how did you get into this? Why, especially contract engineering? This is kind of a uncommon thing. So why not build your own technology?
Yeah, so we started working with medical devices in around 2019. doing staff augmentation for a very big client in the US. So for us, when we started doing that, we were just an engineering services company working on all kinds of projects. We weren't specialized on any market. So we started working with this client, and we built a long-term relationship where we developed 3 medical devices with them. One of them was a very successful commercial IPG that was successfully implanted on thousands of patients. And then we started to discover our passion for this sector. We started to build a lot of know-how, and we realized that we could make a difference working for this sector. So after working with this client, we started to taking more responsibility on the project, doing more design, documentation, and being in charge of all the different phases of the project and hardware, firmware, and software development. So yeah, that's how we started, and we were always, since we started, an engineering services company. So that's kind of how the company started and how we work. We never had in mind building a medical product. It's also very difficult to start that in an emerging market like South America, where there are not so many opportunities. So we get to work in much more exciting and challenging projects and products working for the US market, where there are more opportunities and more like financial possibilities and those kind of things.
Okay. Yeah, very cool.
Just to add that I started working at the beginning of my career for CCC Medical Devices, which was a company in Uruguay that was eventually acquired by Intershare, which is a very big group that does contract manufacturing, design and manufacturing for medical devices. So yeah, from the beginning, since the beginning of my career, I've been working on that. Though I've also worked for startups here in Europe. And now I'm back to services. And I think it's definitely something that can be very rewarding to develop devices, systems for others, especially because you have the possibility, which is just not possible if you are in your own startup, to work in multiple projects at the same time, right? So, and you can see a lot of very exciting stuff. And whereas if you are in your own startup, you only see your product and you really depend on the success of that product. So yeah, it's different experiences. I've enjoyed both, and now I'm very much enjoying working, providing services.
Yeah, we're also constantly learning. For example, you have a lot of experience working on a certain microcontroller or radio or whatever, and you're very confident about that. But then you get a client that wants to work on a different chip because of very good reasons, because this chip has it's particularly better at this analog measuring or power consumption or whatever. So you have to build experience of new things. So you're constantly engaging new challenges, which is something that we really enjoy and also allow us to retain our talented engineers, because they also are very motivated for engaging new challenges. So I think that's a very good part. And also talking about this, maybe Nico, you can tell Ladan more a bit of the history of Uruguayan medical devices, because it's not a coincidence that a company in Uruguay is working on medical devices. We have a long history that started with CCC.
Sure. Yeah. So I think it was 1958 that an Uruguayan cardiologist was doing an internship in Sweden. And at that time, they were developing the first full implantable pacemakers in Sweden and in other parts of the world. So when he came back to Uruguay in 1960, he requested his Swedish friend to send him a pacemaker, and he performed one of the first implantations in the world. So that was 1960, and it was the early days. So during the next few years, several companies all over the world started to manufacture pacemakers. He created his own company, I think, in the 70s, And yeah, that company eventually started to provide contract design and manufacturing for neurostimulators by the end of the century. So by the 2010, CCC Medical Devices was a well-established company, supplier of a lot of startups, especially neuro startups. And that has created, as Javier was saying, a very strong presence of Uruguay in this space. So now there are several companies. So Intershare is still there. We are there. There are a couple of other companies that have engineering teams in Uruguay. And we are very proud of that ecosystem that we are building. And
Impulse Dynamics has a growing development team here.
yes. And so we organized a meeting a few months ago in Uruguay, in Punta del Este. It's a seaside resort. And we brought people that work with Uruguay or that are from Uruguay and others. And it was great. It was an excellent opportunity for highlighting what companies there are building and also where the industry is going. We had presentations on SCS, on the devices for heart failure. Yeah, it was a great opportunity to see, as I said, where the industry is going and how much Uruguay is contributing to that.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Seems like Uruguay has a big history in this kind of stuff and a long track record. Are there other advantages to working with contract engineering in Uruguay?
Yeah, so I would say that the most important one is the time zone, right? That it's very close to the East time zone. So yeah, for United States, it's very convenient. So flights, maybe they are, it's quite long. It's still long to travel from Uruguay to America, but it's definitely, quite convenient. And so I'm actually based in Europe, in Barcelona, and I work a lot with United States. And the time difference can be painful sometimes, especially, of course, with the West Coast. And so, I sometimes I wish I were still in Uruguay.
Thank you. So I think the time difference is something that helps a lot. But also, I think that there's a very fast cultural fit between Uruguay and our clients in the US, where they feel very comfortable working with us. And also they find I think they come here because they find talent, because you don't hire because of convenience of time zones and cultural fit, but also because they're very pleased with the talent. I think this history of Uruguay with the medical devices has allowed us and also our links with the university to have very, very talented electrical engineers and to have all this expertise that we can give to our clients.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, and then another thing too, Nicolas was talking, he's working on different projects, and one of them is kind of interesting. It's an injectable neurostimulator. Do you want to talk about this a little bit? And actually, Javier, are you involved in this too? I thought that you were involved in this.
I'm not. This is something that Nico is working with a university in Barcelona. But I know all the details because we go to events together. But yeah, this is something Nico is working on.
Yeah, so as Javier said, I'm working with Universitat Pompeu Fabra from here, Barcelona, with Anthony Borra's group. And it's a very cool technology. Anthony's been developing, I think for the last 10 years or so, this injectable electrode. So it's a 1 millimeter thick electrode. It's about 3 centimeters long. It's wirelessly powered, so it's batteryless, doesn't have a battery. It's, of course, very, very minimally invasive. Has nothing to do with today's procedures for implanting neurostimulators. And it can be used for any application that needs to stimulate muscle or nerves directly. And has the potential of really improving the patient experience, right? Because of the very easily implantation procedure. And so for the physician, because they can access places where they cannot access today with the other devices that are more invasive.
Okay. Yeah, so it's completely wireless and very small, and the surgery is pretty minimal. It's basically implanted via needle. So I think it's an easy thing for a patient to accept. It's not such a big ask. But yeah, that's very, very exciting stuff.
So yes, of course, you've seen that there are already some devices that are not really invasive, but that are targeting that. So there's, well, unfortunately, well known now for other reasons, but there's Stingray, but there are other companies that have been developing similar miniaturized IBCs. This is like a step beyond that, right? So it's much smaller than that. And it can be used for the same therapies. You can stimulate pretty much every muscle and also nerve in the body.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. I think that's the future. I think this kind of implantation method and stimulation is very attractive. So for both of you, I guess, what are some challenges in doing this work? And then is there something that you see that, I don't know, is frustrating, or you wish somebody came to you earlier, or what's kind of a common mistake that you see companies doing and that right now you wish you could, kind of stop?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. I think we are very well positioned for seeing that kind of thing, right? What we think that clients should do before coming to us, or the opposite, right? I mean, what they shouldn't do before coming to us. I could say that as soon as they have an idea and understanding of how their system has to work, what it needs to do, I'm talking about the device, right? They should talk to us, because it's possible that we can help them right from the beginning with a prototype that we can in turn transform right to a product in a very smooth way. Whereas if they start maybe from the beginning, they think that they are maybe too far from a product, and they want to start with something that is definitely not something that you can transform into an implantable device later. Yeah, it could be maybe not at all efficient. We've seen that a couple of times. So yeah, I would say that's the best maybe piece of advice we could give, that as soon as they have an understanding of what are the basic requirements for their system, they should come talk to us.
Yeah, also another advantage that we have is that maybe if you're developing a product, it's your first or second or first or third or fourth product, but we've worked in many different products, so we can use that experience. We've seen the mistakes or the challenges that you can face when working on different phases of the project. So I think that's something that a company like us can provide to our clients, not to make mistakes that we've seen before, and that's something that is very positive.
Yeah, very cool. That definitely, like, that way you guys don't have to go back and backtrack, redo something that's already been done and ultimately waste money. I know every company is different and every project is different, but what's kind of a rough, I don't know, cost or something like this? And then you guys can scale, right? Like you guys can grow with the company, something like this, or how does it work with the funding and the payment and everything like this?
Yeah, I think it really depends. I mean, how it works for every company, it really depends on the project. So it's difficult to give something that is more concrete. But what we can say is that we really try to, as you said, to grow the project with the company, right? To start small, if the startup is small, and to really help them all the way. That's really important and very much appreciated by clients. So yeah, we are really flexible, and we do not expect the clients, when they are still a very small startup, to start a very large project with us, to already commit to a very long development or anything like that. So we really try to adapt to their situation and to provide them with what we think they actually need at that point.
We always like to work. Our preferred way of working is time and materials. So that means that we put a team of engineers to work on the project and we bill for that time. So we have a set of objectives and an initial planning, but time and materials you commit to effort, but not to a set of results. So you can go and iterate in the process. So you can start working and you can see that something is easier than you planned and it will take less time. So you only bill for what you work. Or if you see that something is more challenging because of unexpected things that happen along the road, you can replan and reschedule. And we have a versatile team that can adapt, so we can enlarge the team or reduce it depending on our client's necessities. So yeah, we try to work that way. So make shorter iterations to have like instead of having the goal of finishing a product, so put a lot of intermediate goals to start with, for example, a prototype, put a team working on that prototype, and then seeing if it aligns to our planning or not, if we can do it sooner, and then starting on the next phase, we do it. And if we see that there were some unforeseen challenges, we put more efforts there. But I think that allows our client to only pay for what they need, and it gives us like the peace of mind that if some unforeseen things happen in the way, that we're confident that we can put the effort to fix those things. So it's something that I think works well for both parts. Of course, it needs trust, because the client has to trust that you're a capable team of engineers that has the know-how to do it. But once you build that trust, it's very convenient for both sides and produces, in our experience, the best results.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm an engineer as well, and I know that you definitely iterate and you troubleshoot and you fix things, and you can't always count on something, working the first time or even the second time or third time. So definitely there's that level of effort.
In the end, it's just a matter of where do you put the risk, because if you work like a closed price, you have to put the risk in the closed price. So the client is paying in advance for that risk management. If you work time and materials, the client may pay or not for that risk, and it's a matter of seeing how the project goes. So it's not something that it only works one way, because there are many companies that prefer working close price, but we think that once there's trust built between the client and us, it's a very good way of working that gets the best results.
Yeah, and for the fixed price, you might be incentivized or encouraged to ship out a product that's less than ideal, and meanwhile, that you could make it better, even though I guess there's no more budget or something on your end. Yeah, so that's interesting. Well, guys, this has been a really nice kind of introduction into your guys' company. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
Maybe just mention that we are present at major, especially neuro events. So we went to NANS, and I'm going to INS next month. So yeah, it's great always to catch up with the people from the industry there. It's maybe somebody listening to us now, and we'll be there. Would be great to meet them too.
So thank you so much. And yeah, so if anybody's interested, then you guys can reach out to Focus, and the website and everything, the contact will be in the show notes. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Ladan. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much,
Thanks for inviting us.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.